Meeting is called to order. It's Monday, April 16th, 2018. There's been notification of the news media and they are present. And Reverend Woods, would you please do an invocation for us?
Shall we pray? Our God, as we come tonight, we understand that one of our staff members lost their child. We're asking you, God, to strengthen that family, to be with them and to comfort them in their hour of bereavement. We're asking you, God, to open up our minds as a board tonight to do your will for our staff and our children of this county. We ask you to allow the divine Holy Spirit to be with us. And God, we thank you for this day that you have given us. And we're asking you now to just be with us and remember that family, God, that lost the loved one today. We ask you to comfort them, strengthen them, and allow us to come together to send up prayers for that family. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. All right, we need approval of the agenda. Would someone please make a motion to approve the agenda?
I have one question, if you don't mind. There was things that I had asked Dr. Lane way before the board meeting for tonight, items to put on the agenda about discussing the legal fees, consultant fees. I just want to know what happened to that, Dr. Lane.
I can tell you. Mr. Norton and I also asked for something to be put on there, basically the Care South thing. And there were mistakes, secretarial mistakes made. I didn't know about yours, but I did know about mine, but I didn't catch it when it came out. But once we've approved the agenda, then we need to go forward and then just catch it at the next meeting rather than changing the agenda after it's approved and ready to go out. So I did the same thing with my stuff that was done with yours.
Okay, but the agenda has not been approved yet, ma'am.
When we approve the agenda to go out, approval of the agenda is done by Dr. Lane and me by policy. And when we approve the agenda to go out and be published, that is a final part in the agenda process. Then we vote to approve the agenda here. And so that's what I'm asking for a motion for. So
no, I'm going to let it go tonight because we got a lot to do. I'm going to let it go tonight, but I am going to address that.
Madam Chairman, I move that to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right, 1, 2, 3. Megan, do you want me to call names so you can see, or can you see everybody's hands? All right, all opposed, please. All right, Mr. Woods is opposed. Mr. Coachman, where are you?
I'm abstaining because the
All
items were on the agenda removed, so I don't know what
All right.
I'm saying.
I'm abstaining.
Oh, Ms. Fleming, I hadn't seen you had come in. You're abstaining?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right, so we have 2 abstentions, 1 objection, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and Mr. Branch, you voted with us, right?
I voted in favor.
Yeah, okay, so the motion is carried. Thank you very much. And now into new business, we have approval of minutes for the following dates. Let's do it one at a time because we have so many of them. March 5th, 2018, the regular board meeting. Is there a motion?
Move to approve that those minutes, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And so it's Mr. Coachman, Mr. Branch, Mr. Driggers, me, Ms. Fleming, Mr. Woods, Ms. O'Nation. Mr. Norton, are you opposed?
No, I'm abstaining. I'm not sure that what those minutes reflect are right.
Well, then bring it up and we'll change it.
No, there's nothing to change. It's just that I'm not sure that what went on is right.
Okay, but what's written is what happened?
Yeah, it is what happened.
Okay, well then, okay. That's a whole separate issue. Okay, we'll go back and deal with whatever that is. All right, March the 12th, 2018, the board workshop.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve those minutes.
All right.
March 12th.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. March 12th, 2018, special call meeting.
So moved.
I second.
All right. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
It was two.
No, this is 12th. We had a board workshop and then we had a special call meeting? Okay, so we're unanimous on that one. March 26th, budget workshop.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed?
I'm abstaining, I wasn't present.
Okay, all right, well, the motion's carried. Did you get everybody, Ms. Robinson? Okay, thank you.
I abstained also because I was not present at the.
Okay. I didn't catch that. Thank you. Individuals or groups who wish to appear before the board. We have Mr. Christopher Fox, who wants to talk about resolution. Mr. Fox, you have 3 minutes. Hold on.
My name is Chris Fox. I taught art here from 2003 to 2008. My first year in 04, I taught under an induction contract. My second year in 05, I taught under continuing. My third year in 06, I taught under continuing. In my fourth year in 07, I taught under continuing contract. I was suspended without board approval by Dr. Sherbine in February of 07, who submitted to the payroll that I was taking leave without pay. I was terminated on April 30th, 2007, and not reinstated until the fall of 2007 under Dr. Alyssa Goodman. I was demoted to an annual diagnostic contract for the 2007-2008 year. Dr. Goodman assured me that I'll be given a continuing contract. I was, and my entire records have been expunged from digital records and the physical copies. I've come to Marlboro County District Office for the past 3 years to try to have my records corrected, and the State Department has caused every subsequent contract. I'm a 10-year vet now, and I'm still on an annual contract because of the way that I was treated and disrespected as an employee here. I harmed no child. I was the best teacher, and I'm still remembered and appreciated, and I have no reason, no understanding why Marlboro County District would do that to me. And I paid a lot of money for attorneys to try to rectify the situation. It still has not been correctly represented. Only 2 of the years have been corrected, which were 08 and 07. The remainder of the years are still inaccurate. I talked to Dr. Cobb in December. I've talked to Ms. McCall for the past 3 years. I just want my records corrected as I earned it. I earned a continuing contract in 05. In 06, 07, I was demoted to a diagnostic. In 08, I had it changed to a continuing that year. I retired for 5 years, and the 5 years that I've come back since then, all of my contracts are screwed up because of the misconduct of Dr. Sherbine, who fired me on no grounds and suspended me without board approval. Can you tell me when my records will be accurately reflected? I have every single copy of the contracts that I've signed that the board approved, and I have the ADS updates that Ms. McCall submitted to the State Department. She then only submitted 2 out of the 4 years that I requested. My first year of induction is still omitted from my record, which gives the appearance that I'm only a 9-year veteran when I'm a 10. Can you please tell me when the situation will be rectified?
I don't have any idea, but I tell you what,
I have all the evidence here. Can you just please tell me when my records will be corrected?
I don't know.
And if I may, Madam Chairperson, you said you were spoken to Dr. Cobb.
I did, and he assured me in December of 2017 that it would be corrected, and it's not been corrected in totality.
Okay, and if I may ask, do you have copies?
I do have a copy of everything.
If I may have those, Dr. Cobb and I will review these again.
All the ADS updates.
Thank you. And may I say, he's very thorough and very complete. So you may rest assured you will hear from either he or myself.
With all due respect, I'm not really interested in being contacted. I just want my records fixed, and I'll go away. If you're not able to do that or not able to tell me when, I'll find other channels to correct this situation. Can you please tell me when my records will be corrected appropriately and represented in my debt history in the South Carolina Department of Education? I don't want to be contacted, so can you tell me when they will be fixed? Please, I implore the board.
And,
I spent thousands of dollars on that art program in room E163.
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Ken Childs, our attorney, has just stood. You recognize.
I just want to suggest that I think the correct disposition of this is to refer it to the administration to resolve and report back to the board.
With all due respect, that's been done for the past. I've been trying to correct it
Not
for
with
10
this
years.
board,
Dr. Lane's not been involved in this at all.
or me. I didn't know
No, I have
anything
not,
about
and,
this.
And so the board's referring it to the administration to deal with this practice.
Can I have a date when I will be contacted and when my records will be corrected?
Well,
Can you
I'd say
please go on the record?
Certainly sometime in May, no later than that.
Okay, it's April 16th. I haven't taught here since June of 2008. Can you please tell me when my records will be corrected in the State Department?
No later than the end of May.
Okay, I haven't taught here in 10 years. My last day of instruction was in June of 2008. Can you please tell me it was supposed to be submitted by June 20th of 2008? It is not.
and Mr. Fonks, this is not to put you off, but please allow Dr. Cobb and myself to first collaborate.
With all due respect, I've done that. I've talked to Dr. Cobb, I've talked to McCall, I came to Serban, who fired me, Peterkin, who fired me. I did everything I was supposed to do. I got a $3,000 attorney. You already know the income that I made in 2003 to 2008. Can you please tell me when my records will be fixed?
As soon as the administration can do so.
That's not sufficient, sir. That's not sufficient. I'll be glad to escalate.
You can come back to the
No.
board.
I'll be glad to escalate and bring it to your department where I should have been in 2008. I appreciate the board hearing.
Thank you, sir. All right, individual board items for May board meeting. Ms. Owenation.
I want to deal with Venice on immediate schools, and I want to see where we are at that time before I say anything more specific than that.
Okay,
But
right.
BIS,
okay. Mr. Woods.
Yes. Legal fees, consultant fees.
Mr. Norton.
CARE South Carolina Dental Program.
Ms. Fleming.
I would also like to make sure that we, by that time, address the retiree salary scale.
Ms. Fleming.
BIS and have some clarification for this young man that came. If there was nothing to be done, then just tell him, and so that I can feel as a board member that he was heard. And obviously he feels like he hasn't been heard, and he came before this board in a manner that I felt was appropriate. And I feel like we owe him an explanation. And
We don't have any facts, so we can't give him an
yes,
explanation.
ma'am, I understand that has been said, but he's given us this information. So I'm really asking the administration to come back with some clarification so that we can say we can't do it, or it's not doable, or we've done it.
And we will.
Thank you.
Mr. Driggers.
Not at this time. I have a item later on in the agenda that I may request something to be brought back on that, so I'll wait till I discuss
So
that
I'll go back
later
to
on.
this. You remind me to go back and write
Thank you
that
very
down.
much.
All right, Mr. Branch.
I don't have anything in the moment.
Okay. Mr. Coachman.
I don't have anything.
All right. So the week of the Young Child Annual Celebration,
Madam
signing
Chairman,
of...
I am so sorry. I want an update on the School of Discovery repair costs so that we know what we put in the budget. We were given some numbers, and I'd like a little more clarification. Sorry, can't hear me. A little more clarification on that.
Okay, update on School of Discovery repairs.
Yes. So we know what we got to put in the budget.
Okay, all right. Now, individuals or groups...
Ms.
What?
Farr, may I add something
Yeah,
for next
sure.
one? I don't know if this is the time, but I looked over these, the school renewal plans, that cover all of this from each school. And tonight may not be the time, but I looked at the performance goals for each. And you're saying, I'm looking at this one here, it says 45% in 2016 and 17, and it would be 80% by 2022. I just want to know where we are. Are we really moving? Are we making some progress? Every year is low, and you say you're going to do better the next year, and that's for. I looked at the performance from each school, and the numbers are just extremely low. And I don't know who needs to address this, but it's a concern of mine because.
So you want that on the next agenda?
Yeah, or
okay.
someone
got it down.
Someone who does this. I don't know whether it's Ms. McCall or Mr. Sterling.
We'll have the right person.
Dr. Harris
Yeah.
or whoever. Just tell me, are we making progress?
We'll put it on the agenda. All right, this is the week of the Young Child Annual Celebration, signing of a proclamation. Ms. Danny Blair. Is Ms. Blair here?
She's coming.
Okay. Okay. I just didn't see you.
He was coming in the door back there.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, board members, some of the parents had to leave, so I was trying to get them to stay.
Yeah.
But this is a follow-up to a kickoff for Week of the Young Child, which is April 16th through the 20th. And we had our kickoff last Tuesday, where we recognized several champions for young children. We had talents from the other schools. McCall was an intercession, so that's why they're here tonight, but we want them to sing, and then we'll let the mayors sign, if that's all right.
Good.
Now let's let our children sing.
Lord. Do they want to come up front here? Oh, I see. Okay. Never mind. Did they get scared?
Of
young children need. And that was just wonderful. Last week was wonderful as well. Now, if your mayor or county representative, if you come to sign the proclamation.
Ms. Parson, may I say something? May I say something? May. While they are coming, I attended the program last week at the community center, and I didn't see McCall there, but you, McCall, children were wonderful, as well as the children last week. You performed so well. I'm real proud of you, and I love you so much, and I just want to just throw it out there that all the people that sponsored it, MacArthur Farm, Department of Social Services, Children Defense Fund, Church of McCall, I think Thomas Memorial, Police Department, Sheriff Department, they were all presented plaques, which shows the collaboration we have with the communities. And it was a great program, and these are very young children. They were up to 8 years, is that correct, Ms. Blair? 8 years old, and for them to get in front of an audience to perform, it tells you that someone is doing some hard work. Please, teachers and everyone that's working with these children, continue to work hard.
And I want to thank Mayor Kinney and Mayor Odom for coming out tonight to support us. We appreciate it. Clio and McCall are here.
Next, we're going to have the Junior Scholars presentation. Dr. Sterling Harris.
At this time, we're going to ask Mr. McCall, the principal of Blenheim Elementary, to come forward, and also Ms. Kim Williams and her family. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. The South Carolina Junior Scholars Program was developed by South Carolina Department of Education during the 85-86 school year to identify 8th grade students with exceptional academic talent and to develop strategies for inclusion in the special programs. This program includes a process for screening potential talent pool of students, identifying and recognizing those students with exceptionally high scholastic achievement and intellectual ability, and sponsoring summer opportunities in collaboration with participating South Carolina colleges and universities. Students are first identified in the 8th grade. Students who qualify for this special recognition will be recognized in our local ceremonies and receive an award of merit and a certificate from the South Carolina State Department of Education. Now, the eligibility criteria: a student must be enrolled in the 8th grade in a public, private, or homeschool in South Carolina, and must meet the academic criteria. Students who score a 550 or higher on evidence-based reading and writing, or a 530 or higher on the math portion of the PSAT, which is a precursor to a college entrance exam, are those who qualify. Students who participated also in Duke University's Talent Identification Program during their 7th grade year, who met the eligibility requirements, are also eligible. This year, we are proud to say that Marlboro County has a South Carolina Junior Scholar. On behalf of the Marlboro County Board of Trustees and the Marlboro County School District System and the Department of Curriculum, we'd like to present this certificate and award of merit to Kimberly Williams of Blenheim Elementary Middle School for outstanding intellectual achievement in the 2017-2018 South Carolina Junior Scholars Identification and Development Program. She did very well, and she's an outstanding student, and she will receive a certificate and her medallion, and her parents, because I would assume Jennifer's not driving yet, will receive this bumper sticker for their car that will always identify them as the parent of a South Carolina Junior Scholar. Ms. Parson, you come up and take a picture, and That's all right.
That's right. Everything goes Listen, honey, that broke in enough pieces, that's good luck. You know that's good luck. This is a happy day.
Baby, that's the way you remember something. If everything goes as it should, you'll forget it.
Actually,
remember the things that go well.
Actually, there's nothing beats being smart. You are smart.
Yeah.
You drop that, you are smart. So, just remember that. I'm the only one of all these 3,900 students here that got it, so I'm smart. So, don't worry about dropping that.
And do know that we are so proud of you. Keep up your great work. We are very proud of you.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, we have Capturing Kids' Heart National Award for the School of Discovery, Ms. Ashley Taylor.
Oh, got another one. Look at that. That's great.
Get that up first. Janitor's out here. Maybe the janitor come in and get it again.
Thank you.
Be careful. Somebody's going to step right on that glass.
Madam Chair, members of the board, and Dr. Lane, thank you for having us here. If I could have the School of Discovery students and faculty and staff please come forward at this time. I know Dr. Lane mentioned this last week. There were actually 134 schools that were nominated for the National Showcase Award, and actually only 123 of those were awarded. We were one of 5 South Carolina schools that were nominated, and all 5 South Carolina schools did receive the national award. 3 of those schools were from Charleston, 1 was from Greenville, and that 5th one was from Marlboro County.
Wow.
Mr. Prince has given you a copy of the letter that they sent to us outlining the nomination process. We were nominated based on observations. From there, we did staff surveys, and they looked at the level of implementation from our staff. Then they did perceived climate and culture surveys from our staff as well. And then we had to show data showing the significant gains that Capturing Kids' Hearts have helped us to make. And the biggest gain was a decrease in discipline, which we were really proud of that. And we can attribute that to the climate and culture of our school. If you come into our school, there's a family feel in the school, and it's the climate and culture of that school. And then also student surveys that measured their attitudes and their connectedness to the school. And the students that you see standing in front of me, these students were interviewed whenever they came in January. And these students are the reason why, along with the faculty and staff members you see standing here, as well as the ones that are not here, this is the reason why School of Discovery is a national showcase school for Capturing Kids' Hearts. So I just want to give them a round of applause.
No, you do
You got plenty in there, I believe.
1, 2, 3.
This is about them.
Very good-looking group, too.
Hang on just a second. Okay, gotcha.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, the next item,
Thank you, Mr. Parr.
see, you know,
That's a true
even
principle.
being the principal, you got to do some stuff like this from time to time. All right. The next item is board items for discussion. To schedule a date to seek new legal counsel services. Mr. Woods wants that, and I think Ms. Owen Nation had already made a motion to that effect. Didn't you? For
My motion
January?
was to continue their services
Yeah.
until December 31st of 2018.
All right. All right, the next is...
Hold on, Ms. Parsons. Hold on, Ms. Parsons.
What?
We agreed back in when we found out that Dave Duff and his partner had split it. We agreed to allow them to continue their service, but we also agreed that we would set a date that we would listen to other legal counsel to come in and do presentation to us. Do y'all remember that?
Would you like to propose a date?
Yeah, that's all I'm asking. Could we
Okay,
look at
propose a
disclose
date
a
right
date,
now.
the date in May, maybe the third Monday?
Make a motion to that effect.
I make a motion that we set a date for the third Monday of May to schedule a presentation for legal counsel to come do a presentation for the board.
Sir, I'd like to just make a suggestion. Would you be agreeable to waiting till we got through with our budget for this year and doing it for the upcoming year?
We've been putting this off
Okay.
since we said we were going to do it as a
But
board.
there's no obligation here. We need to bring this to a vote.
Okay.
And so all in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, raise your right hand. All right, so it's defeated because it's a tie.
Okay, no problem. We already know it's already had a plan. anyway.
Okay, let me make one more statement if I could. I have no problem with after we get through with this year's year, go into our next fiscal year to reschedule this if you would be so desired to do that at a later date. I just want you to know that.
Go ahead and set a date.
Madam Chair, I think if we look back through the agendas, this has been on the agenda for several months, several times.
Vote.
Pardon me?
And we just had a vote.
I understand
And it was
that.
defeated, so we
Okay,
move
that's
on.
fine. We just want to make
All right,
sure.
the next
This is
item.
nothing new. It's been coming up, and nothing has been done.
Well, we've had a vote. Lighting for the Bennettsville Elementary School ball field, Mr. Driggers.
That's Blenheim.
Blenheim, I'm sorry.
Blenheim.
What did I
Okay.
say?
You said Bennett, so
I'm
that's okay.
sorry.
What I want to find out here is, and maybe I need to address this to Mr. Parks, I guess. What I would like to have done is some lighting at the Blenheim school fields. Now, I took it upon myself to talk to a couple of people, but I know that in the past when we did the contract for construction, you put out some bids and we've got some bids to come in for the lighting. I want to move forward with that. If that's the right procedure, that you need to put that out and get some bids to come in, however we need to do it, I want to start the process of getting bids for the lighting for the athletic fields at Blenheim so we can do, we got to get a price before we can even move to agree to do it or not agree. So how do we do that?
We would probably need to have some design services as a part of that consideration so we know what it is that we're asking for in terms of all of the different types of lights and infrastructure and all as a part of that.
Okay.
So,
Well, I took it upon myself to contact two different people, between myself and Tim Brown. I've already gotten two packages presented to me with lighting, telling me how many lights we would need, how many poles we would need, and all of that. So these folks, I can tell them to send these things to you, or
let me get with Mr. Brown, who is
Okay.
our construction expert, and have him assist with that process.
And I'd like very much to have this on the agenda for May. I
Okay.
said we would come back. I would like to have this on the agenda for May if possible from you.
We'll bring back whatever we have at that point in time.
Okay, I think Mr. Coachman has something.
Yes,
Mr. Coachman?
Dr. McLeod has already
been talking with someone for doing lighting at the Wallace Ball Field, and the price is very reasonable compared to a lot of
Truitt,
other.
right. Mr. Truitt,
I don't know his
Tommy
name.
Truitt. the one
Don't,
that deals with the
Danny,
recreation
Danny, be
department.
cautious here about names. You know, we have to go through a process.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But you
Sorry,
might want to give
just
it
a
Dr.
little
McLeod
warning there.
and see, compare it to where some of the price that he's already gotten. And may be able to use the same people.
Whoever we need to go through, I want to go through them because I'm interested in getting started.
We'll bring back some information at
Let
the
me make
next
sure I'm not trying to
meeting,
short
whether it's-
anybody out, cut anybody out in the loop. I just want to move forward. So whoever takes care of it, I want it took care of.
Isn't that Dr. McLeod too?
That is, yes, sir.
And Dr. McLeod is in here, you know, but he stepped out for a minute. Let's make a note to make sure he's
Price
in front of
that.
this.
Yes,
That's
sir.
all I want, just move forward on it. Okay, thank you.
All right, the next is update on security measures, Mr. Jackie Branch.
Well, we were given some information a few months ago, and without going into a lot of detail about which of our schools are lacking, I just want an update on where we stand with that. Have we been able to secure any funds, any grants for that?
Okay, and Dr. McLeod was going to give you some information. He stepped out momentarily.
That's fine. I mean, you know, like I said, I don't want to go discuss it in public for security purposes.
Right.
But he can just give us that information.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, next is an update on district facility repairs, and that's also you, Mr. Branch, isn't it? Have I read this wrong?
It says
It's
it's
you.
for me, so can we get an update?
And I'll have him provide that too.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I had requested it too, Jackie. I had requested it too, so you're not out there
It might have
alone.
been Ms. O.
Okay. It's all right.
Next is resource officers for Clio Elementary School and School of Discovery, Mr. Coachman.
Yes, just want to hear what have we come up with for the resource officers for Clio and School of Discoveries. Do we have something definite, or do we have a plan in place, or when it's going to take place, or do we have
What's it
any
going to
information?
cost us? We got the budget to consider, you know, all of those things, right?
Right, so we need to bring, I'd like for us to bring something back.
Well, Mr. Coach, on that, I shared with y'all some information where Chef Lemon has proposed some things for Clio. We also talked to the mayor of Clio and the city council, all that. We're trying to come up with some proposals, try to help cut the costs for resource officers. So they're going to put presentation together to present to the board. So we're trying to work with each entity so that we can try to share costs.
So
They're going to put a presentation.
No, well, Chef Lemon already said what he could do. He said that he could give down there 2 officers and he can do the cars. Only thing we have to do is just pay their salary, which would be what the salary would be for their resource officer. He said he could do the
Put that
car.
together for us.
Yeah, he'll put that together for us. And also on Thursday, the mayor, along with the chief of police and the city council, going to be meeting, trying to discuss something too. We don't want to leave nobody out. We just want kids safe because we have 400 and some kids down there in Clio.
I just wanted to
All right,
say,
the next is-
excuse me, I wanted to say that was an issue in the city council election and the mayoral election, and many folks have ideas about what to do. So this meeting is going to be helpful, I think, to us. I hope.
Yes.
Thank you.
District strategic plan and school renewal plans, Ms. McCall.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Board. You received copies of the district strategic plan and school renewal plans for your review last week, and I would just open it up if there are questions for principals about the plans, or anyone has any questions, comments, anything that we need to discuss about the plans.
I personally love your goals. I mean, I think we've got
Thank you.
some very exciting goals. I hope we can reach them. And I know that you have all the intentions of reaching those goals. So I really love the goals that we're striving for. And all I can say is that it sounds like a great plan.
Thank you, Mr. Driggers. The principals, the schools, the committees, the district committees have worked very hard starting in about October to bring these plans together. We have to do this every 5 years, so it has been an excellent group effort for the entire, all schools and the district.
Would someone like to make a motion, please?
Before we make a motion, that was what was my, I got this information, I think, on Friday, and I went through each school, and My questions are, I'm just looking at the high school, the numbers are just where they are now and where you project them to be. Where they are now is just, it's low.
Understand that, Ms. Fleming, but that is the data that we have to base the plan on, the current data or the last year's data, because we wouldn't have this
Okay,
year.
so if we look back 5 years ago at the same thing, where were you then? Where were you? That was my question. Are we moving up, even just small increments? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at one here. It says 36% in 2016-17. And we want to be 80% by 2022, which is a great goal. But you're 36% now. I wonder 3 years ago, where were you?
And those questions, I would have to bring that back. I'd ask the high school if they could bring back that information or come forward with that information if they have it now.
And that's what we asked about to bring back to you, Ms. Fleming.
Yeah, because these are just the scores where we are now. They're low.
I understand you would like to have some to compare the data from the past few years.
Okay, we did this 5 years ago. Where were we? If you're at 36% now, 5 years ago, were you at 20%? Are you up to 36% now? That's my question. Are we moving up?
That's a very appropriate question.
We'll prepare some data over the years. We would remind you and kind of enlighten you that in the high school, most of their data is based off of end of course scores. But the end of course scores, unlike in our 3 through 8, those are scores that don't travel with the children. So when we do our end of course, it's a different subset of kids that take it each year in the high school.
I have each school turn to that page, and this is the School of Discovery, and they were at 25%, and then we got
18.22 and 23.22.
And this one here is Blenheim.
And along with that, if I may interject,
Ma'am, let me get finished.
I was going to focus on the third grade too.
I think so I'm saying that we are 20% here, and you said 2018, 19 want to be at 29, 2019 36%, then 2020 43, and by 2022 you want to be at 60%. My question is, you're at 20% now. Where were you 5 years ago? Were you at 20%? I don't know how.
It's based off of baseline data, as Ms. McCall said, from just last year. In the last 3 to 4 years, the state has undergone moving from one test to another. And you've always heard when you see your educational articles that probably come through you through your board packet and your board focus, that there's been a moving target. And normally what has transpired is as schools have performed better, then we rewrite the standards and we interject a new test, and all of a sudden it kind of resets a number of schools. So as you remember, at one time we were in PASS and PAC, and we've gone to now SC Ready and SC Pass. And even in the high school this year, we've gone, even with our work-based test, from work keys to a brand new test that the kids will take in a couple of weeks when they had only taken work keys 2 years. So, we're always looking to move our schools with achievement. But part of going into this new ESSA situation is to finally get to some type of stability with our tests, so that then we can start to look and move forward. We've just, it's not saying that we don't have areas to go in terms of achievement, but when you are trying to work toward achievement and the bar keeps on changing or the test changes, it makes it hard, because normally the staff development that we've done to prepare for that test has gone out. I can't speak on individually what's in those plans as far as each individual school, because I don't have them in front of me right now. But I can say that there was a time years ago when we started the initial assessments where a good bit of the schools across South Carolina were starting to meet the goals and meet the achievement area that we all wanted. And then we decided, the state and the country started to move to this Common Core. And before the Common Core test could even get off the ground, it met so much opposition that districts spent 2 or 3 years preparing teachers for Common Core, and it never was introduced as a test in the state. And so now we're on our probably 3rd or 4th assessment. And so we're not going to make excuses for achievement, but those are factors that we cannot ignore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As a board member, and you're looking at these the percentages, and you said, "Are we moving? Are we?" And I guess you're saying they're changing the game and constantly changing. But I would like to see everything over, starting at least at 50%, and that's not the case here. Mm-hmm. And 50% is just. But that was my question. It's, and your explanation. What I want to know: are we doing a little bit better? I mean, academically. I know you can measure some things. Graduations and discipline. All those things, but then academically, that's where I want to see. It's if they're constantly changing the game. I guess it's just going to continue to look for people like me. It's going to say, are we moving in the right direction? Are the scores ever coming up?
Well, with the new approval by the
Dr. Lane.
If I may, you're absolutely right, Ms. Fleming. I do not have the data directly in front of me, but our district has been making just an incremental gain. But for the past couple of years, the state has changed the particular assessment, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, and Dr. Harris can speak more aptly to this, statewide, because the state changed the assessment, almost every district in South Carolina had a decrease in achievement as measured by the new test. Not necessarily an actual decrease in student learning, it's just that the new assessment showed that fewer students were successful in the new assessment. But I'd like for Dr. Harris to go ahead and go back 5 years, which will include some of the old SC Pass and SC Ready, and you may have only 3 years that you can pick up of that old assessment, and then you will show the 2 new assessments, and then let's allow Ms. Fleming and the rest of the board to see where we are, because I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah.
Versus,
I think just a couple of meetings back, we had a test that we were South Carolina as was this clever, and I think it was like 89%. I'm not sure what the number, and we were just very close to that, and it was a feel-good moment.
Yes, as Ms. McCall said, when they're doing the school renewal plans, until we finish the entire year, then the high school data, let's speak for, because I think that's what you were talking about. The high school data is not complete until we finish the entire school year. So we had kids in the fall that took the end of course assessment. Based off of their end of course assessment, looking back at last fall, there were pretty good gains in every area. Now, the largest group that will take end of course assessment will take it in the spring, because all of our Algebra 1 and English 1 kids that take those courses year long will take those. And then all of the other kids that are in the course test for the second semester will take them. So when that data comes out, we're hoping to extrapolate that if we do as well as we did in the fall, then our scores will make a tremendous jump. But in terms of writing the school renewal plan, she has to use a complete year's data, so you have to go back past the fall to last year's data.
Ms. O'Nation?
Well, I don't want to interrupt Ms. Fleming.
Yeah, I'm done.
This has been a concern of all of us, and it hurts us to see 22.8% and 18.9% on the South Carolina Ready, even when you compare that with the state average, which is somewhere, between 46 and 59%? I've seen various numbers in here. But as Ms. Fleming said, we did see an increase in our scores in the high school, not just the graduation rate, but where we were at end of course, which is a pretty level playing field. These things, parents and children are concerned about the method of taking the test and all of that, because that's new too, to many of them. But it is, my biggest concern at some point in the past is if you can't read in the 3rd grade, you're going to have a heck of a hard time the whole rest of your life. Yeah. So we're trying to focus there, and I know the State Department has tried to get us to focus there. And I'd be interested in knowing where we stand there. I know Miss Danny Blair said we had summer school, you know, and we got a lot of kids through.
Reading camp coming
Reading
up.
camp, which is wonderful. But there was a lagging there too, and I'd like to have a little information on that along with this other, if we can. We want to encourage our students. We want to do everything we can to make our kids achieve, and I know y'all are working hard too, but these numbers really blow you away. You know, they really do, or they do me.
They do. They do.
I want to express a concern that I expressed at the strategic plan. I missed some of the others because I was recuperating from a knee replacement, but when I came to the last one, I was overwhelmed at how hard the teachers had worked to prepare all of those pages and pages and pages that they went over. And I frankly don't understand how you function in the classroom when you're spending so much time doing all of that stuff. And I also am very concerned that the teachers may be working harder than the students. There's so much stuff you all have to do. And I wish we could get to a point in this district where we're not constantly assessing teachers and observing teachers. Just let them go teach and see what would happen. You know, I made the comment that in my business, if I have a horse and a rider working together and the rider's working himself to death and the horse is just kind of lollygagging, which I'm equating the students possibly with the horse, you're not going to get much work. And if there's any kind of plan you can come up with to really seriously motivate students so they're working as hard as you are. I can't imagine that the students are working as hard as you are. Not from what I've seen.
Well, we do have some very outstanding students who are going to some big schools this year. I can't wait to tell you about that.
Well, the scores, you know, should be doing something. But if y'all stay so busy, worried about us scrutinizing you and you're worried about those kinds of things, I don't see how you can do your best work.
I'd like to call the board to remember that this is a strategic plan. This is what we're hoping to accomplish down the road, you know, and that's what we're trying to put together here. I know there's a lot of emphasis on a lot of different things being said here, but it's a plan. It's a hope that we're going to accomplish this stuff.
And if I might also add, for all of us, one of the things that's already happening and will continue to happen is that long-range significant student improvement really starts with early childhood. Is Ms. Blair still in the building, or has she left already? Stand up again, Ms. Blair. One of the things that she and all of our early childhood administrators and teachers and staff have been doing is really helping our young people get a very firm foundation. It starts with early childhood. The state is right to say that a child must be on grade level and or above by the end of 3rd grade. That is not just some mythical grade level or number or idea that just pulled out of the air. That every research that you may confer or consult, from Johns Hopkins to University of Chicago, etc., will tell you that when children leave the 3rd grade on grade level, they will do extremely well throughout the rest of schools. Our greatest challenge, and I'm very pleased to say that that challenge is being addressed in our district. We have really beefed up, no, beefed up is an understatement. We have aggressively addressed the needs of students in the early grades. In fact, this entire week is again called the week of the, say it again, Ms. Blair?
Week of the Child.
The week of the young child, right? Yes, and there's a reason for that. And then you notice she brought in the mayors from, you know, from the various municipalities. We are expecting, and And believe me, it will have to work its way through the system. But we are expecting that 5, 6 years hence, you're going to begin to look at test scores across the entire district and say, wow, look what's happening in our district, because it happens with our children. We've got to get them on grade level by the end of grade 3. And one of the greatest challenges, and this is why we even work very aggressively with our Head Start program and other community agencies, is because many of our young people, they come to us in pre-K still learning the shapes. Regretfully, some of them are still learning the colors, and many of them are still learning the alphabets and the numbers. And these are requisite skills for success going throughout the years. So without being too lengthy with this conversation, I just want to say, believe me, some things are already in place, and over time, you're going to like what you see over the years. But I also still want Dr. Harris to come forward next board meeting with a detailed analysis of where we've been versus where we are, and also including early childhood. And the reason I keep mentioning early childhood,
I have the primary school numbers here. They are higher, but I would like to see them way higher than this. But for example, the percentage of students in kindergarten through 2nd grade meeting or exceeding their projected growth on measures of academic process, MAP, will increase in ELA from 48% in 2016 to 73% by 2022. My concern is I'm not liking that 48%. It is what it is. I'm not liking that. The same thing with the next one is at 55% in math, and they will increase it to 85%. I'm not liking where they are. That's what I'm saying. That's where they are,
but I will say that is definitely an improvement. And Madam Chairman,
I know it
is an improvement there in 3rd grade.
But it is improvement because we know where the reading was. But it's still, in order for them to get what they need.
Got to be more. Madam Chairman, could I make a motion?
Yes.
Could I make a motion to approve this plan, if I could?
All right, please.
So moved.
All right.
I would like to say, if you give me just a second.
We just put the motion out there, then we can.
I agree. As Ms. Fleming says, it's discouraging, and the answers have been, and they legitimate answers, is that the tests have changed. Yes, they have. But my concern is the ranking of the schools. Everybody's test changed. Everybody in South Carolina's test changed. It wasn't just Marlboro County's test that changed. So where do we rank versus with the other schools? And if you go into schooldigger.com, you will not be happy. I'll tell you, you will not be happy at all. So, and it also ranks the schools in elementary, middle, high, but it also tells you whether you went up or down in rank. And I don't think you'd be happy, Ms. Fleming.
Give her that address so that she can.
I can get that.
Okay. And then that saves Dr. Harris from going and looking up a bunch of stuff. Okay? All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. 1, 2, 3. Are you with? Okay. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McCall.
Thank you, Madam.
And thank you, Dr. Harris. All right, Dr. Cobb, the bereavement policy.
Madam Chair, board members, you have in your board packet for second reading the changes made to the bereavement policy, the changes to the professional and support staff policy on leave and absences. The changes were being read, and it's for second reading.
Someone make a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion. Can we forego the final reading and approve this policy?
Certainly we can. I have some major questions.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to ask the question. Can we just defer it? I think that's a good plan.
Usually, it's approved after second reading, and this is second reading.
Second reading, okay. Make a motion that we
It's
approve.
approved with second, it doesn't necessarily have to.
I couldn't hear you, Mr. Coach.
Make a motion that we approve the second reading of the policy.
All right. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? Mr. Driggers is opposed. Where are you, Mr. Woods?
Bereavement pay for teachers.
Well, I'm in favor of it.
All right, so it's passed. Next, Dr. Cobb is makeup days.
We're asking the board to approve makeup days for the traditional calendar, Monday, May 28th, and Thursday, June 7th. And for McCall Extended Year calendar, Monday, May 28th, and Monday, June 4th.
Someone make a motion?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Are y'all voting with or not?
We can't make up yet. I'm fine with make up days.
We can use Memorial Day.
This year only, we can't. It's mandatory for next year. But you cannot use Memorial Day as makeup day.
All right, all opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cobb. Dr. McLeod, we have Marlboro County High School band trip to Atlanta, Georgia, and Marlboro County High School JROTC camping trip to Fort Jackson.
I'll make a motion we approve these two trips.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. We're on a roll, Dr. McLeod. All right, Mr. Park.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Lane, you have before you a budget amendment for 2017-18. The budget as adopted by the board for fiscal year 17-18 is $32,938,612. After further clarification of the direct payment by the state to the retirement system for the 1% increase in retirement contributions, it has been determined that that payment should be reflected as a reduction in retirement contributions and as a reduction in the expense. The amount of our budget, the amount in our budget is $236,994. Accordingly, the amendment will bring the budget to $32,701,618. My recommendation here is to approve the amendment to general fund budget for fiscal year 2017-18, reducing the budgeted revenues and expenditures from $32,938,612 to $32,701,618, a reduction of $236,994.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Did you vote with us, Ms. Brenda?
No, I'm
Okay, all
going to
opposed?
abstain. I was not at the budget workshops and.
Okay,
it's
the
not
motion's
comfortable
carried.
doing
Next, Mr. Park, you're already up here.
You have
Financial report
you have
as of April 10th.
You have the financial report as of April 10th, 2018. I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you might have regarding the report.
Any questions? All right, moving right on. Marlboro County School of Discovery identified as a low-risk oddity. School district, I'm
School
sorry.
district, yes. As stated in the attached letter, the Uniform Grant Guidance require the South Carolina Department of Education to assign a risk score for each school district and charter school in the state based on the overall financial and programmatic performance as demonstrated through the following 10 criteria. Require reporting, turnover of key personnel, programmatic compliance, fiscal compliance, performance, frequency and need of technical assistance, financial stability, quality of management information systems, i.e. internal control, timeliness of annual financial audit submission, other material factors, accreditation, and confirmed cheating test security violations. I think you'll be happy to know South Carolina Department of Education has assessed Marlboro as a low-risk auditee. The risk score ranges between 0 and 18. Marlboro's score, as indicated in the letter dated March 19th, 2018, is 12, which is an improvement over last year's risk rating of 18. We were still low risk, and I want to do a special shout out to Barbara McCall, who has done an outstanding job in managing our federal programs, and certainly programmatic compliance is a huge part of this, and the federal programs are absolutely key to our rating and the administration of those programs.
And we have a lot of programs. This is a big deal. Low-risk oddity is wonderful. Thank you.
Next, School of Discovery and AMI Infinity Cost Analysis.
What I've done here is I've just brought the portion of the expenditures that are covered by, for School Discovery, are paid by general fund, and then for AMI Infinity are paid through the at-risk funding, and we'll just put this up on the overhead for just a very brief minute. We'll start with School Discovery. You can see School Discovery, I've added a column, and we've got all cost, and then we've got general fund, and you can see the difference between all of the costs that are incurred at that school location versus what is funded by general fund. And of course, that's the majority of the expenditures. There's very...
Can you put the arrow on the cost?
Arrow is, okay.
Mr. Toole.
Yeah, you can go to the bottom.
To the actual money, dollar figures.
You may want to go up just a little bit more because I've got a 5-year average. Okay, right there. You can see the 5-year total, $6,192,431, all cost, and then the portion that's provided by general fund for that period, $5,422,983. Go to Infinity.
So all of that is coming out of the general fund?
Yes, sir. And if you'll move that up. Okay, very good. You can see the 5-year total for Infinity, and let me state this is all cost at Infinity. It covers more than just the contracted amount. So for the 5-year total, 2 million, yeah, okay, right. 2,916,954, and then the portion that is covered by at-risk, 2,891,136.
So when you say 2,891 covered by
at-risk funding,
that means that money is not coming from out of our budget?
That it's coming directly from the state's allocation of at-risk funding.
Means not coming out of our budget?
Not out of our general fund budget. That is correct.
So Mr. Parks, how much do we give a month to that school from the district?
We give $37,500 per month.
37,500.
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me how many of the teachers that AMI provides are certified teachers?
I have no idea as far as what the programmatic portion of that. I think probably Dr. Harris can address that question.
Okay. I'll call him.
Okay.
We won't do it tonight.
He's got a following presentation.
So the 37.5 we're providing to
Each
Infinity, is that utilities and teachers? What is that?
That is the contract only. So we pay for utilities. We do have some staff associated with that location.
What about custodial? Do we pay for that?
We do pay for custodial.
And that's included in the 37.5?
No, we pay for that separate.
Okay, well, that's what we're looking for. I think Mr. Coachman is trying to say how much is coming out of the general operating budget. So this is not all of it.
It's all the cost at that location. It's more than $37.5 per month, or it's more than $450,000 per year for all costs associated with.
And basically, what I was trying to get to a bottom figure of the difference between
the two.
What money we are receiving for Infinity, AMI, versus what is costing the school district general fund money.
One of the
versus the money versus the school of Discovery that's coming from general fund, which all of it
Are
is.
the two in competition?
No, ma'am. I need to know this information. I'm not trying to make it a competition. I just want to know for my knowledge and for future references and I think the taxpayer have a right to know where their money is going.
And one of the things that we've seen is with at-risk funding, we did get a lot larger allocation 5 years ago than we do now. And you can see how at-risk funding in the 13-14 year, 774,000, then that became 609, 599, 575. And this year to date, there again, we haven't closed the books, because we don't have the April, May, and June payments in there, and I believe there'll be an extra one in July, but we've got 332 at this point in time. So,
Well, Mr. Park, if 37.5 is coming from the general fund, that's
37.5 is coming to AMI Infinity on the contract.
Okay.
And then if other costs we're paying at that location as well. So there is an amount that is paid directly to
So when
AMI
I take, let me
Infinity.
do it by tens. 37,500, I know we only have a 9-month school year, but I'm just going to round it off. If we have 10 months, we're talking 375,000.
We make 12 months,
Well,
12 months of payments.
Okay, so it's 12.
12 months of payments, so that's 450,000.
Okay.
And then the difference between the 450,000 and what our expenditures are for the year are those additional costs that we have at that location.
So, Mr. Park,
So what are they? That's what I.
my question is,
I'll ask him.
you saying at-risk money is going there too, right?
The at-risk is the funding
So
for that
how much
location.
money is at-risk going to the school of Infinity?
Infinity, you can look at each one of the years. For example, you can see the first year in 13-14 was 774,000.
Okay.
Then the second year was 609,382. So we took a pretty significant decrease between those 2 years. Then the third year was 599,284. The fourth year, 575,873. And this year to date, we've got 332,467. And this is all in your packet. This is
Compared with the number above it.
in comparison to the
What would it be?
in comparison to the number with to the left. And we don't know what the total cost will be for the current year that we're in, because we haven't closed the books, and we still have more revenue that we'll collect from at-risk as well. So I'm just giving you a year-to-date, which was through the end of March.
At-risk money, I would presume, is not free money, because at-risk money coming from the state, where do you think the state gets the money from? It gets it from citizens. So my point with the looking into AMI is really twofold. In the past, they did not have certified teachers. And they also, in the original contract, they were charging $400,000 a year, and they were taking 60 people. And then sometime during my previous term, they came back unilaterally and said they would only take, was it 30 or 35?
Our current contract is 45 students. And
it went up 50,000.
Correct. And I think one of the discussions that we've had over the years has been when we were funding at 400,000 was that they were, the statement was that they were losing money at 400,000, and
Well,
their
we're
concern
providing
was,
some of the teachers, they come from the high school for a class and then a class and whatever. And I haven't been able to get a straight answer about how many people the $450,000 pays for. The amount that I've been able to find out so far, but I'm not positive about it, is 3 people and their program. And that's a concern. Or to me it is, and also the quality of education that they're getting over and above the behavior modification. But are they getting an equal education to the people at the high school? That's, I'd really like to know that. Can you get that for us?
And I think Dr. Harris has a...
Okay. Okay.
I don't know,
All right.
any other questions regarding the
Okay,
financial?
Mr. Branch.
So in year 13-14, you're saying our total cost was $576,000.
That's correct.
Okay. Why would they send us more money than our total cost?
Because we had more at-risk students in the allocation, and then of course those funds can be used for other at-risk. They're used for the same students, but they don't have to be used at that physical location.
So the money comes back to the
To
school
the district, yes, sir.
But you're showing it as a cost to AMI.
What I'm showing is those are all the at-risk funds that we received during those fiscal years, and there are other expenditures that were incurred during that year that were beyond what was at the AMI Infinity location.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parks. And, whoops, I missed something in the dark here. The AMI Infinity Kids Progress Report, and that's Dr. Harris.
All right, Dr. Harris, clarify this.
Don't skip Miss Fleming. Oh, no, oh, my name was on this. That's why I got this one, Miss Fleming. He wasn't skipping over you.
I hope you break it down, brother.
Okay, I prepared for you a short, very brief PowerPoint that Mr. Toole is going to assist me with moving, that gives a general overview of what AMI has meant to the district in the last 3 to 4 years in terms of what their contributions to the at-risk students and their success. As you can see, listed on page 2 of this PowerPoint, it goes back to 2013-14, and it shows the average active enrollment, and now average active enrollment amounts to, over the course of a 180-day school year, the average amount of students there. Obviously, there were more students there than what shows for the average enrollment, but some students matriculate back to their schools during the year, and so that's that number. It shows the students that are present and the average enrollment in terms of the number of students and their attendance. If you go over to number 2. Now, going back to 2013-2014, this shows that in 13-14, you see they served 64 high school students, and there was a total of 177 credits gained over at AMI. In 2015, there were 49, and those students gained 161 credits. In 15-16, there were 41 high school students, 176.5 credits were earned, and in 16-17, 55 high school students were served, and 268.5 credits were earned. So when they're over there from an academic standpoint, they are gaining credits toward graduation, just as they would be here at the high school. And that's a plus for the school because there can be some times when schools, kids go to the alternative school and they basically show the same performance they show at their high school. And so you run across students from other districts sometimes that have 6 and 7 credits going into their senior year. And of course, we know at that time that's going to be a student that normally matriculates to adult ed or either drops out.
I may not understand the exact concept of this thing. So, student A does something, misbehaves or whatever, and we send them to the school, the federal school here, because they did something disruptive to class or whatever. So when they get there, the subject they're taking at the high school, they're presented to them there, correct?
Yeah.
If they were taking the English 1, they get English 1.
They get English 1 there, yes.
Okay, same thing.
Yes,
so they're taking the exact same subjects that they're taking at the high school. So when they come back, hopefully in 45 days, then they go back into their classroom. So how do they get credits for there and not for going back to their classes at the high school?
Well, what happens in the high school, a number of these students would not, or I wouldn't say generally matriculate back to the high school in 45 days. A number of them are at least there for a semester, and some of them are there to the end of the year. In the high school, our kids pick up credits in mid-year because the high school's in our high school, we're on block schedule. And so we have kids who take a class from the beginning of the year until about the 2nd or 3rd week in January, and they gain credits. That's why we also have some students that are mid-year graduates and things of that nature. So we're not on a traditional schedule per se. So kids that go over to AMI, they work through our virtual learning and our APEX, and also with the assistance of teachers. And so as they continue to work hard, they're able to gain credits. A slide future, I'll kind of explain how AMI was used to help some kids who were behind.
Before you go, I'm looking at your 2014-15 where you had 49 students and they gained 161 earned credits.
Yes.
2015-16 you had 8 less, which is 41, and they gained 176.5
yes.
credit. So does that mean that they're getting better?
Well, that
because you got 16 more credits with 8 more students.
That can mean that in that given year, it's depending on the individual student. There can be students that get in trouble. Sometimes students do things for which they're remanded to the alternative school that are within our code of conduct, things that they have to be removed from the regular learning environment. Some of these students are very bright. And so actually the instruction process was not the issue when they went to the alternative school.
So all of our students are not needing help academically when they go there?
No, sir. No, some students go there based on things, if student gets, let's say hypothetically, student gets caught with drugs or constant fighting, things that issue. At risk encompasses a lot more than just academics. Sometimes at risk encompasses socioeconomics, it encompasses kids who've not been in a structured environment, and then when they come into a structured environment, cannot function or don't get along with their peers. So oftentimes there's students that go into AMI who are able to handle the academic portion of it.
I noted, and I see you've got it reported here, just to cut to the data, that their current reading levels are increasing by 1.5 years, where many of our students in the regular school are not increasing that much, not even a full year. I noticed that the math is an increase of 7 months, and we're having trouble with that too in our 9th and 10th grades. So this is good academic progress.
Now, what I will say,
but one of the things too, we have some gifted children there.
Yes.
But intervention is needed because of emotional or other issues that they need to be taught differently.
And that's what else I was going to share with some nation, is that we have students that go over there at times who, if they could do the academics in some type of isolation, they would be fine. But when you put them around other kids, certain things happen. And so in respect of our other schools, when students go over there, the teacher-to-student ratio is a lot smaller. Some students that go over there are farther behind, and it's kind of like getting a student from being, if a student's average is, let's say, a 50, well, one great test can move that average a great amount, versus within some of our schools where students are moving incrementally and they have a lot of people. So we have benefits. They have some benefits, but they are moving the kids in the right direction.
So are you saying that there may be a student who shows up in late August, 1st September, and they go the entire year at AMI?
Yes, depending on if that student meets the AMI, something I'm going to explain later in this PowerPoint. AMI has some goals and things that they have to meet to go back. So it's not an automatic, you hit your 45 days and you go back to school. There are certain functions that AMI shares with our students and tries to do. There's certain therapeutic services they do with students, and students have to meet certain criteria before going back. And if they don't meet that criteria, they stay at AMI longer. So, a student may do well academically, but if a student is still cursing out all his teachers and cursing out everybody around him, then we can't send that student back into the regular learning environment. Okay? Now, if you go over to the page that starts with STAR data, that's where it mentions some of the information that Ms. Onishin said. But you asked about the recidivism rate, the re-enrollment rate. And as you see, from 2013 to 14, it was 0%. 2014 to 15, it was 3%, so there was a spike. 2015 to 16 was 3%. 2016 to 17, 2%. And then presently in the 2017-18, it's 1%.
So those are the percentage of children that come back to.
They go back to the school within a year time. So those are students that came out of the school, got back to the school, continued the same behaviors and came back. And so you'd always like it to be that 2013, 2014, 0%, but we live in a realistic world.
Yeah.
And, if everybody behaved, what a world this would be. So that, we think those percentages being that shows that about 95 to 98% of our students that go out at least stay out a year or longer, which means that they have success.
Yeah.
If you go over to the next page, these are just some overviews of some of the things you're asking about. We mentioned academics in terms of at-risk students, but AMI provides a behavior modification system, a point card system, and also a ranked phase system. And so this is where they address some of those social skills, some of the cultural blending, the getting along with peers, things of that nature, things that kids have to do, and they have to meet a certain standard in order to go back, along with doing well in their classes. And so that's one of the things that AMI provides through their program, that is a requirement for alternative school kids, because if we were just moving kids over because they misbehave over to another site, we're not really fixing the problem, we're just transferring the problem. Okay, and if you go over to the last slide, it talks about token economy, where they identify target behaviors for youth and development behavioral goals for the student network, and they provide the counseling and talk about and have those discussions with kids, because they have a different schedule than the kids use at the high school and the middle school, providing reinforcement, things of that nature. And then they talk about you see some listings of the educational overview there. Now, and a treatment overview. And that's very important in terms of their success. I gave you some information so that I wouldn't have it all, have to go over all this on the slide, because I know you all are competent and can read. And what I presented you with was a lot of what AMI provides from a social and growth and psychological perspective. It's a partnership that provides that type of counseling and that type of steering towards students that help them with those individual things that help them to cope. Because we never, we don't send students over there in a general basis if they're not just performing well in class, per se. There's only special recommendations we do for those students, and mainly that's at high school. Most of the time they go over there for some kind of behavioral a social aspect. Also, what
And they are getting counseling, I notice, at least 2 days a week. I mean, very intense counseling.
And also they're planning, they actually, AMI has them involved in community service, their community events. If I were to share with you some of the data we have pictures of them being involved with going out and help. They feed at some of the nursing homes. They do some things that help to instill character in the students and help the students grow from a character base, because a lot of times that's where it is coping and character skills. You have also included in your packet a copy of their student education monitoring progress, which they keep their data on their students. And then also you have 3 impact statements in your packet from actual students who left AMI and talked about the effect that it had on their life and changing their attitudes, because truly I hear a lot of talk about the at-risk funds and all, but it's extremely difficult to educate the at-risk child, because they come sometimes with things that other kids haven't. We have one of the things that we have to work on, and it ties back to a conversation y'all were having earlier, is that we have kids who start going to school, whether it's a church school, whether it's grandma that was a teacher, whether it's any of these venues, start going to school as early as 2 years old. Both of my children started school when they were 1, 1.5, going to a church school. So we have kids that enter kindergarten who already understand homework, they understand sitting in a desk, they understand many things. And then we have kids who enter school and their first formal schooling is when they walk in for our principals to deal with. And I know Mr. Norton used to be at McCall, and you have a range of how kids, and then you have to mesh them all together to teach them. And so that presents some at-risk indicators sometimes, and it's not something that the kid has developed. It's just opportunities and where they are. So that's why it often takes a little bit more to educate the at-risk child. But these are some of the information that we have in reference to AMI. But as you can see, they've had a lot of success, and as was stated at last week's workshop, the last year, when Mr. Farr was over at risk in the district, he started to work with Mr. Bunch in identifying kids who were sophomores and juniors, with 4 and 5 credits. And basically, when we say from the state standpoint, they were still freshmen, because if they didn't have that 5.5 credits, they really haven't moved. But these students are students that have to graduate within 4 years for us to get any credit on them for the graduation rate. And so what he did was we started to identify those students that were struggling mildly academically and set up a plan for students to be able to go, certain students to be recommended to go over to AMI, where their focus could be solely on their academics. They could work at an accelerated pace, make up courses that they had failed, complete credit recovery courses. And we had, I think it was 9 students that Mr. Farr directed over there last year, and 8 of them graduated. Now that 8 graduating in a class that we have of about 250 to 300, that could account for sometimes 20-25%, because there are big dips that happen every time you have a kid that doesn't graduate. So not only did they help AMI help us in terms of their social skills and their behavioral skills, but that site over there in our alternative program have helped us with our academic progression. And we've had students that go back to the affinity school, because after they have finished their time and come back to the regular school, their parents call in and say, my child's not going to survive in that big environment at high school. There's too much stimulus. He's going to get into something, and they request for the children to go back to that smaller learning environment. So these are a lot of the data that come out of what we receive from AMI.
Can you tell me what other programs there are of this kind in schools in the country?
Well, across the state, there are different programs that certain alternative schools partnership with. And normally it's our district would be more of I guess across our state, our district would be more of a smaller medium district, because we only have about 3,900 to 4,000 students. And so in a number of districts like this, you have, I want to say Camp Bob Cooper, There are some other, there's a Clemson partnership extension camp that works with a number of schools down in Clarendon and Turbeville. And basically, the reason for that is a lot of these counseling services, these intensive counseling services, dealing with bringing in experts to deal with social behaviors and those things, a lot of districts don't have the money to outlay hiring those. Now, you know, there's some large districts that have a actual mental health counselor in every school. And then beyond the mental health counselor, they have what's called a MAP counselor in every school. And the MAP counselor just deals strictly with teen pregnancy, drug abuse. And this is not things where kids are getting in trouble, they've been sent there. They just identify kids coming at risk. So a number of your smaller districts have partnered with those. I was in a district smaller than this where we actually, the alternative school actually dealt with students who stayed in a residential girls' home for the females. So normally, in order to provide all the services that at-risk students need, partnering with groups like this kind of takes a lot of overhead off of districts. Now, there are larger districts that run their own alternative school.
I guess the main question I want to have answered is what other programs are available, and what is the contract cost, and what number of students do they serve?
Yes. Yeah, we can research
Get me that without a whole lot of trouble.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's not hard. We just have to make contact with somebody.
I got a quick question.
All right, Mr. Driggers.
I understand where you're coming from as far as discipline is concerned by a child going to AMI, but I just heard you say that a parent requests that the child go back to AMI. So who makes that? Who makes the decision?
That normally
the children that go to the AMI school.
By that mode, normally that only happens with a child who has been extremely successful in the school and gotten in trouble. They go to AMI and they experience success academically. And they also, I'll give you for example, Mrs. Driggers, you have some children, as we said, that are pretty intelligent, but they can't keep their hands off somebody else. They're fighting all the time, and normally it's just the population is bigger. There's not that much one-on-one contact outside of the classroom. So when students come back, per se, let's say to the high school, the student that's come back from AMI may start to get back in trouble real quick. And then you're at the point where sometimes the high school principal or administrator is saying, now if we take him back to the hearing board, he may be up for expulsion. And so oftentimes you'll have a parent every once in a while say, you know, he was doing good in his math and he was doing good in his English when he was at AMI. He's gone back and now he's getting distracted, he's cutting, things of that nature. And I like them to be in a smaller learning environment. And so that comes through our office. We really talk with the principal and vet it. We try not to do it unless it's absolutely necessary. But we want to make sure that we help the individual child too. We make sure that we don't let a ideology cause us to set a child up for failure. So sometimes kids go back at parent request when it looks like it's the best thing for that child. And sometimes it's the best thing for the parent.
I understand that, but the social skills that he needs to learn, interacting with larger groups would be something that had to be considered. But what you're telling me here is the administration, principal, teachers, you guys decide who goes and who's aid, okay?
On that, yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say, of course, number one, we are helping those children. There's no out. I've seen the success. I've seen success stories. And when you help, we think, well, you're helping one, but you're not. If there's 30 kids in that class and you help that one, you help 29 more. People, there's an old saying, you know, that says one monkey can't stop the show. Well, you haven't met the right monkey. Some of them can stop it. I mean, they can stop the progress that you're making and that kind of thing. So you got to look at it kind of like, yeah, there's 30 kids, but how many more children benefited by the opportunity to learn? That's one thing. The second thing, and that's on the good side, because it gives them an opportunity, and it gives that teacher that you ask how can they teach, gives them an opportunity to teach. But on the other side, and I guess everything has a good and a bad. We've got 15 criteria for at-risk students, and spending that much money of your at-risk funds leaves very little for the other 14, such as absenteeism, that you could be using some funds to get children off the streets and back in school and that kind of thing. So even though we are able to pay for AMI, it leaves very few funds left for the other 14 categories that we need to do. So I guess it's just one of those things that there's never enough money. That's the bottom line. Never enough money
I
for
just
all
wanted us to
our
know
needs.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we were just doing it.
Yeah.
You know, it's out of sight, out of mind. It's $450,000 plus the other stuff.
It's money
But
well
we're learning
spent.
more about
It's
what
money
we're
well
doing.
spent.
Coachman.
Yes, I just want to share just a few things that I've got from some of the teachers in high school, because I've been asking about it. And their concern is that when we send a child back from an alternative school, make sure that we're not sending them in the middle of a semester, because it costs the child that goes back will be behind. And I know sometimes something may happen, they slip between the cracks, but we don't want one to slip between the cracks, and make sure that we're doing it and putting them in the beginning of the semester so that they can have the chance to be successful like this they should be.
I think that is the goal, Mr. Coachman, is that when kids come back, they come back at those determined times where they completed their first semester, got those credits, and start another one.
And one other thing too, and you can finish that, like when we bring 4 or 5 kids back at the same time, let's put them in separate classrooms. I'm just giving feedback and receiving, because if you put 5 troubled kids that come from the alternative school in the same classroom, then they got a buddy or friend that they can get in trouble with. So if we put them in different classrooms, and they won't feel like they can act out and have a partner with it. It's like you and I hanging out. We bad together, but if we go by ourselves, you know, we gotta be cool because you ain't got no backup. Yeah, but
Sounds
those
like
are
you've
the,
been bad before.
I have. But
Mr. Harris.
those are things that concerns that teachers.
We try to address those things. Now, some things, because of the configuration of our schools, are impossible. Yeah, because some, you know, as we said earlier tonight, we have some schools where, you know, you have 1 or 2 teachers a grade, and so if a kid comes back, generally, if there's been no transition in that school from teacher, they're going back there. We do try to address the times that they come back at the high school, but there is one area that we sometimes don't have control in terms of our special ed population. If they are removed, it's a 45-day change of placement. And so when that 45 days is up, that IEP's got to reconvene, and if it's that time that they move back into a certain scenario because of the IDEA laws, those are federal laws that will supersede anything that we do, and we become personally liable. So sometimes those kids that come back in, they may be a kid that's a special ed kid who's served their 45-day change of placement, and when they move back in, that time could be
Anytime.
Yes, sir.
So that's where we are required to do this. Pretty much, these are special ed, they have that.
Oh, yeah, wait, yeah, the IDEA laws supersede pretty much anything in this state across.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, we can discuss this all we want, but we have got to provide an education for these students. Is that?
Oh, yeah, we're going to provide education.
All of them aren't special education.
Yeah, no, all of them are not. I think I was referring to some kids that go back in at awkward times.
So we're still obligated to educate all these
When you
kids.
look at our
whether
district,
special
we
ed
are
or
all,
not.
well, okay, I know they're not all special ed, but we are required to educate the children.
Yep.
We got to move on. All right, South Carolina School Board Association Delegate Assembly, Dr. Lane.
Thank you,
Just do your whole report.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Just a reminder to you and the other members of the board, the nominations for the delegate assembly nominations are due June 22nd, 2018. And I've got this information I'll pass on to you. Okay. I'd also like to ask Dr. Marlboro to come forward along with the principal, Mr. Durham Farr from the high school, and we're going to present some leadership and volunteerism certificates in just a moment. But also wish to advise that we will be providing for you some information from the McCall Police Department on a request or at least a desire of theirs for a vehicle for their resource officer. And last but not least, I'd just like to also announce, let me see if Dr. Dean Bard is in the, is Dr. Bard in the building? Okay, well this is a last minute notice that came to my attention. He has received a $500 grant from USA Today to buy helmets for our football players, $500.
You said 5 million.
Okay, and
We'll take it, we'll take it.
trust me, we'll take it. Yes, absolutely. If Dr. Marlboro and Mr. Durham Farr would come forward, I'm going to ask our chairperson.
Why don't we make them children wait so long?
Okay.
Yeah, why make them children wait?
Why they have to wait till the end of the meeting? Should have been up here.
Good afternoon. I would like to call the selected inter-club members for job well done for volunteering for community service. I would like to call Luke Hall to receive your certificate. Sydney Freeman. Karika Townsend. Tyler Quick. Anika Arroyo. Pooja Patel. LaQuestia Bridges. Kalia Thomas. Jen Davis II. Rebecca Souza. Rebecca is our exchange student from Brazil. The rest are not here, so thank you.
You really didn't do a good job of explaining to us what these kids did.
Yeah.
And you made them wait all this time.
Yeah.
Not you, ma'am. I was talking about our superintendent.
Go ahead, you can tell us what they did. I think you should give them several hours community service for waiting in through this meeting here tonight.
They're always volunteering their time to do community service, and I'm very, very proud of them. Yes,
Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
That's everything?
Yes.
Okay, we need to go into executive session with and this is for personnel matters, contractual matters, New hires?
Here come the crazy
New
stuff.
hires?
There
Yes.
should be some, yes.
Yes, okay. Resignations?
There may be, we will find it without time.
Okay. Receipt of legal advice, superintendent issues, and employee recommendations. Would someone make a motion?
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
All in favor, stand up.
Boy, that's the most casual voting I've ever seen in my life. We're in executive session. Open session.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor, please raise your right hand. The motion is carried unanimously. We're back in open session. No decision was made, no action was taken. And Dr. Cobb.
Madam Chair, board members, the administration recommends the approval of 9 elections.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion is carried unanimously.
And Madam Chair, the administration recommends approval of List A, classified staff for renewal, List B, certified staff for renewal, List C, classified administrative staff for renewal, List D, certified administrative staff for renewal.
And you want us to vote on all of those at one time? All right, someone make a motion.
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation.
What'd you say? I can't
Make a motion, we accept all the recommendations made
All
by
right,
Dr.
all
Cobb.
right. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. I'm going to abstain in this one. I don't abstain.
Time to go home, man.
And the motion is carried. And is there anything else that we've got to do?
How about the meeting Wednesday?
Yeah.
We are agreeing to a meeting Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
We don't need a motion on that, do we, or do we? No.
No, is everybody planning to come?
I don't think I'm gonna be here. I may have to have some surgery tomorrow, so.
Okay.
I don't think I'm gonna be here.
You're not.
We don't need a motion, and we can have a committee of the board to do it, you know, but 1, 2, 3, 4, I
mean,
think.
the other people aren't gonna be here. They already said, if you're not gonna be here, Michael's not gonna be here.
Are we even going to get a superintendent?
That'll only be
I
4
mean,
people.
Well, we're not going to make a
Everybody's gonna
decision.
refuse to come.
We're not going to make a decision. We're just going to start and go through it. I've done some superintendent searches before. You can even appoint a committee.
Right, it's
Yeah.
better if you don't have a quorum.
I thought you wanted to deal with the Care South contract.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Michael might be able to make it. They may not do surgery.
How about Monday?
I can't do it Monday. I have to-
I thought we had a budget workshop Monday, we don't?
We call it Wednesday, if we don't have a quorum, we'll go home.
Do we have a budget workshop Monday?
We're probably gonna need a little more time now that y'all, do the contract.
We need a little more time to make sure we can.
You got to find some money to pay those people, right? Because we haven't cut out
The
anybody.
motion should have said contingent upon funds adequate to hold
No
those
kidding.
positions.
Well, y'all, let's close now. We need to do all
All
that.
right,
All
Mr.
right.
Norton, would you,
Are we gonna
Let's-
have a meeting Wednesday or not?
Let's schedule a meeting for 6 o'clock Wednesday.
If you
And,
don't have a quorum, you don't have to work.
No, you just leave, we don't have. a
well, we
quorum,
can't
leave.
do anything about Care South, and we've
all right, well, what about?
bumped them off of the agenda for this one. And if we don't have anybody here, then they've traveled all the way here.
Mackie, what about Thursday?
I can't do it Thursday.
You can't do it
I have
Thursday.
Monday and Wednesday.
I can't do it either. Now, I'm sorry, I mentioned it. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly Michael.
All right.
What about Artemis? Can he be there on Wednesday?
He said he couldn't already.
He could
Said
not?
that before he left.
Could not?
Could not.
Can we form a committee to review the applications and then report to the board at a regular meeting?
Yes, I assume you have that option.
Yeah. Madam Chairman, I would suggest we appoint a committee to meet on Wednesday night to sift through the applications and report to the board.
I second that.
And so then we don't do Care South.
Nope. Schedule
When do you want to do Care South, or do you want to do Care South?
Don't we have somebody already?
Yeah, doing something completely different.
That's right, that's right.
What?
Well, we'll be meeting.
What's wrong with other people?
She cannot.
I cannot this Monday. I have to drive to Moxville with a horse.
All right, how about next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, this Wednesday, next Wednesday, the next Wednesday, whatever. I picked the Monday, this coming Monday, to take that horse because I thought the Wednesday was more important.
Why don't you do that? Why don't we do the committee that you suggested Wednesday?
We do the
Get it
committee
broke
Wednesday
down,
and then schedule it for the next
schedule a
Wednesday
meeting for
meeting.
the next one, so you'll have a full board or
All right, who wants to be on the committee?
I will be.
I will be too.
Yeah, and it can be a committee of the whole. If we have more, it can be a
I
committee
ain't
of
want
the
to be
whole.
on the committee, it's too much work.
Okay.
Jack, can you?
Yeah, I'll try to show up.
All right, we got
So we
four.
have 1, 2, 3,
I'll do it.
4.
I'll do it.
That's four.
So that's a meeting.
No, it's four.
5.
Well,
Well, it could be.
If it's a committee meeting, it has to be announced. And the committee can go into executive session.
Right.
Okay.
Or through that.
Because the
so
committee
we announce
is really not a committee, it's just the
tomorrow.
board.
Well, the board is just agrees to appoint it.
Us. That tends to it.
We okay on that? I think we're okay on that. All right, okay.
6 o'clock Wednesday.
6 o'clock Wednesday.
And we need Dr. Lane there
There
too.
we go.
We
All right,
need you
Mr.
there.
Norton, will you please,
Who?
Mr. Norton?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
I've been
Second.
All in
fired.
favor,
All in
please raise
favor,
your right
here we go.
hand. Raise your right hand so we get out of here.
I've been fired.
That's right. I want us to, Dr. Lane, I want you